This is Pilates, Mat Pilates. Feel free to modify the moves and take water breaks whenever you need. This is core focused, but today's focus, in particular on just today's workout, is going to be on sort of flexion-free exercises. So what that means is instead of doing our usual crunch motion, we're going to really try to focus on holding on to that sort of neutral position. Neutral can be neutral, or there's like sort of an imprint. So we're just going to be focusing on that. So to sort of get into that first motion, we're going to start in our hands and knees. All right. So the wrists are underneath the shoulders, the knees are underneath the hips, and we're going to take our spine through its range. Now, this is flexion, just to demonstrate. And then this is extension when you arch. And so our goal for today is try to be right in between the two, focusing on that neutral spine, lengthened spine, keeping the head and neck always aligned with the spine. So from here, let's actually go into our spinal balance. So reach one leg back no higher than the hips. You want to reach the toes as far back as possible. Draw the abdominals up and in toward the spine and continue your breath. Inhale through the nose, exhale out through the mouth. One more breath in through the nose and exhale out through the mouth. Good. By the way, feel free to play music at your place if you'd like. We're going to extend the other leg. Exhale, reach nice and long. The kneecaps are going to face down towards the mats. Your eye gaze is going to be on the floor between your thumbs. Inhale. Exhale. So you can always do this exercise working on your spine muscles, your glutes as well, with the hands on the ground. Good. I'm going to try to do minimal shifting. And this time we're going to reach the arms up. So the opposite arm is going to go forward, no higher than the shoulder. You can have palms facing in towards the midline, or the palms can face downwards. Regardless of the position, you're going to try to reach those fingertips as far away from the toes. You also want to think about your head and neck. So the top of the head is going to reach forward, also in the direction away from your toes. Good. Release. Continuing to breathe at a slow, steady pace. First the leg, and then the arm, opposite arms. You can feel a little bit in the rear deltoids as well as the spine and glutes. Inhale. And exhale. Inhale. And exhale. Good. All right. We're going to come onto our hands and knees. Again, we're talking about that neutral. A lot of times when we're in neutral, the challenge is to maintain the neutral while we do wild and crazy stuff with our arms. We're not doing that wild and crazy, but if you can remember the hundreds, it's about pumping the arms. So if I pump my arms without any regard to my body, by the way, if your knees need a little extra cushion, go ahead and do that. Squeeze the glutes, abs, chest lifted. So again, if I don't engage my midsection while I pump the arms, my body's gonna kind of do a lot of crazy stuff. So we're gonna pump the arms, really reach those arms nice and strong, and really squeeze the butts and the abs. So this is called vertical hundreds. If you've never done it, it's actually kind of a lot of fun. So you should feel your arms working, a little bit of triceps, because your arms are fully straight, and you're trying your best as you breathe. Inhale, exhale for 5 counts, inhale for 5 counts. I probably won't count to 100 perfectly because I want to talk a little bit about this exercise here. You can lean back a little bit. So that is up to you how much you want to lean back. And if you want to like inhale for 5 counts, exhale for 5 counts here, and then come back to vertical, inhale for 5 counts, exhale for 5 counts. You can do that, or you can stay back, or you can stay vertical. Exhale for 5 counts. You stay back here. You can switch every 20. There's a lot of options, but the main thing is that you are feeling challenged in your body and your spine is in neutral. So a line through your ear, shoulders, hips, and knees. All right, let's do 10 more since of course I lost count. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, great. Oh, actually, one more thing before we go onto our back is dropping your hips and raising your arms. So we call this a hip hinge. So if you are standing and you want to drop back into a deadlift or into a squat, there's a hip hinge. The challenge is not about moving the butt back. The challenge is about maintaining this length and spine. So if you wanted to reach your arms forward, but maintain this neutral, you can do that. Or if you want a little more challenge, you reach the arms and try to get into that straight line. Now notice I'm not sitting all the way down on my heels. So I have work engaged here, my abs, my spine, my glutes. Pretty much this is like doing a squat or a deadlift, but on your knees. And then one final little challenge here. So you can either have your palms face in or your palms forward. You do a little bit of what we call the swimming flutter. So if you're ever laying on your stomach and you're doing swimming, so you can go lower, you can be a little more vertical. So you decide. Let's breathe. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. One more cycle of breathing. Inhale and exhale. Good. All right. We're going to go on our back now. And again, if you try to remember, today's goal is about using our limbs, that includes our legs, to make it difficult for our abdominals to maintain the neutral spine. So we're down here. So first things first is you can have your hands down for stability. If you don't think you need it, then you raise your arms up. And we're going to do what's called a heel drag or a heel slide. I exhale, reach it out. As I exhale, I draw my abs in. My leg is going away from my midsection. So anytime limbs are farther away from my midline or center of gravity is more challenging. Exhale, reach. Inhale. Make this a very active reach out with the heel. I pull my toes back. I really kick my heels out there like I'm trying to touch the wall. And I feel my calf stretch. So draw the abdominals in. And let's add an arm. So the opposite arm reaches back. I just want to talk about this really quickly. You don't want to arch the back and pop the rib cage when you reach the arm back. So if there is some limited range of motion in your shoulders here, then just lower until you need to. What? Can you guys hear that? Why not? So as you reach that opposite arm back, you really want to keep the rib cage down. There's like a lot of noise going on outside. I have no idea why. Okay, so then the next thing I'm going to have us do is go into our tabletop position. So again, the lower back is imprinted. And if you want to double check whether your arms are and shoulder blades are in the right place, you can elevate the shoulder blades off the mat, separate them, which is like a protraction, and then put those shoulder blades back down. All right. So sometimes we inadvertently reach those arms higher than we need to be. So shoulder blades should be in contact with the mat. And before we move the arms and legs, we're just going to move the legs. So think about this neutral here. We are imprinted in the lower back, but what I mean by neutral is that it's a straight line. We're not going to be doing head, neck, and shoulder lifted for flexion. And the hard part about this, not doing flexion, is that whenever we do flexion, we rely on our strongest abdominals, which is our rectus abdominis. And this forces us to really take it into our deeper layer muscles, the transverse abdominis. Okay, keep gently pressing those shoulder blades into the floor. Exhale to lower leg, inhale to lift. Exhale to lower, inhale to lift. Okay, that lower back is in touch with the mat. Now let's slow it down and add the arms. Once again, we're not gonna let that rib cage pop up. And the reason why it's also harder to maintain an imprint when your head, neck, and shoulders are on the ground is that when we lift the head, neck, and shoulders, it automatically forces our spine into a curve that presses the lower back into the mat. So it actually sort of helps the imprints. And yes, it does sometimes strain the neck, and it does sometimes, it definitely does work the rectus abdominis more. So here's arm and legs. A lot of coordination here. So I'm exhaling to lower the limbs, inhale and return. Exhale to lower, inhale, return. Now, before we go into lowering both, I'm going to have you lower one leg and both arms. Got it? One leg and both arms. And this is definitely to check whether we pop that rib cage when both arms go up, because it's definitely easier to pop it compared to when only one arm goes up. And now we're feeling fatigue here in the quads and the hip flexors. One more time here, and then we're going to lower both legs, keeping the knees bent at 90 degrees. Exhale, inhale, return. This kind of a variation of double leg stretch. Don't feel obligated to take the feet all the way down to the floor if you feel your lower back popping off the floor. Now let's do 3 more. 2 and 1. Yeah, we're going to return to all this in a little bit, but for now, we're going to do our shoulder bridge roll up. And I'm not going to roll up too much just to get less movement in the spine. Today's focus, like I said, is about keeping that strong, stable neutral. So I'm pushing my hips straight up and then lowering it with control. Exhale, lift. Inhale, lower. Feet are hip distance apart. I'm squeezing my glutes and abs simultaneously. Yeah, let's do some pulses. So instead of going all the way down, think lift, halfway down, lift, halfway down, lift. So we're only lowering halfway down, increasing the pace a little bit. Exhale, lift. Exhale, lift. This is also a great stretch for those hip flexors. Just did a lot of hip flexor work with all that leg lowering. 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, we're going to open up those hips. Come to the outer edge of your feet. Knees are out to the side. Push those hips up. All the way up, all the way down. First, we'll do full range. It's going to feel a little different because we are externally rotated. Still want abdominals drawn down, butt squeezing upwards. 3 more. And then we're going to do that same kind of pulse, where we're just going to go halfway down and lift, and lift, and lift. Don't worry about how silly this looks. It does look a little silly. Your balance on the outer edges of your feet for 8, 7, 6, 5. Keep breathing. 4. Should really be feeling your glutes here. 2 and 1. All right, it's time to flip over. We're going to get into a plank position. Oh. All right, first things first. We're gonna be on our knees intentionally. We'll eventually go to our toes. So the first thing you want to do is walk your arms forward until your butt mostly disappears. All right, so again, that straight line from the ears, shoulders, knees, sorry, hips, and then knees. And then you want your shoulders over the wrists. So it's not like this, right? Oh, that was actually really hard to do. All right, so from here, we're going to bend into the elbows just a little bit, like a mini push-up. But again, the challenge here is that we're creating a little bit of movement. And sometimes as we bend our elbows, people like to move their butt, they like to drop their hips. So it's really about, can we maintain this straight line in this mini push-up? Inhale down, exhale up. You can go as low as you like, but I don't want you to focus too much on the arms. I want you to focus on the bracing of your abdominals. Inhale, exhale. Pay attention. As you bend into the elbows, do your hips just want to go down with the bending of the elbows? Is this what you're doing versus this? All right. And then again, of course, watch out for your butt moving back as well. Let's do about 3 more because your arms are going to get tired. But the reason we're bending our arms is to challenge that neutral. 3 more, right? This is it. 1 more for extra. All right, shake out the wrists. We're gonna come back onto our knees. So again, feel free to roll up that mat here. This time we are gonna just go into a hinge. So reach those arms forward, shoulders down, and relax away from the ears. No hinging at the hip. The hinging is at the knees. So maintain that straight line. Exhale, shift back to an angle that you would like to go, whatever is challenging for you. Notice that if you go too far, your body might compensate by shoving your hips forward and you arch the back, or your body might compensate by dropping your butt back. Either way, you're losing that straight line. So find the farthest you can go back where you're just about so tempted to break that straight line in the body. Exhale. It's a pretty challenging exercise, so I don't usually give arm variations, but similar arm variations can be done like we do in half rollback, right? Where you like touch an arm, do this, do that, do that. Let's just stick with this for now. Exhale. And then let's do 1 more. All right, and now we are going to hinge at the hip. So earlier we did this motion, we did this motion. So we're gonna do this hip hinge again, that nice long straight line, but we're gonna focus on sort of this tricep lift, okay? Again, it's this pulsing motion, similar to hundreds, but you're gonna feel your triceps more. When you do this, hopefully your whole body's not moving. All right, so brace. Palms are up, and think about the lift, 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 lift. Remember, it's really easy to just want to drop the chest and round your entire spine. So as you're doing this, you're thinking about reaching the tailbone long and away from the top of the head. Your whole body's in a straight slant. Yes, you're slanted, you're tilted, but your spine is still straight. Reach, reach, reach. Pulse, pulse, pulse. You can do inhale for 5 counts and exhale for 5 counts if you like. Because your arms are straight, hopefully you feel your triceps. You're really opening up your chest. You're feeling your shoulder blades squeezing towards each other. Let's do 10 more. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Your triceps are tired. You probably don't want to do a plank right now. So we will do our quadriceps. How are your knees? Should we give our knees a break? Let's give our knees a break. Come back to the floor. I do want to talk about a little bit briefly that if you want to do a little bit of flexion, you can do supported flexion, right, like this. More kind of a stretch than a workout. All right, we're going to go all the way down. We're going to start from the ground up. So I'm going to straighten my front leg, and I'm going to have my arms down here, but this is my opposite arm to the front leg. Okay, here is the lifting. Braced, imprinted lower back. Opposite arm and leg lifts. Now, because this other leg is on the floor, your spine is going to feel supported, which is completely different if I had both legs straight and I said, oh, lift both legs off the floor. That's very, very challenging. And in fact, we're not going to do that. It's too much for the lower back. So I do have one knee bent intentionally. You can lift it to about 45 degrees. Exhale, lift. The imprint, inhale, lower. Your foot can be flexed, especially if you're feeling any sort of cramping of the foot. Now let's see if we can lift a little higher. So we're trying to coordinate this parallelity here, where the arm and leg stay parallel. Let's see if we can get them both to more vertical. So we're squeezing the quadriceps a little bit more and stretching that hamstring. Oof. My hamstrings are really tight right now. Take your time with this. Try to keep the legs straight. Focus on hitting those angles, 45 or 90. Give me one more. And this other hand, you probably don't need it, but if you do, just press into the floor for a little added stability. Let's try the other pair. So bend the knee, straighten the leg, and start with about a 45-degree lift. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Give me two more to 45 degrees. And let's try 90. So from 0 here to 90. It's okay if there is a little knee bend if you have really tight hamstrings. Three more here. So I'm actually going to repeat all this, but with a leg in tabletop. And I just want you to listen to your body. And if you prefer keeping your knees bent, feet on the floor, do so. So we're going to lift, we're going to work on the front leg again. So back to the front leg. And this other leg, instead of on the ground, is going to be in tabletop. And when it's in tabletop, it's at least got some weight over the lower back to help with the imprint. If you feel like you need more assistance with the imprint, you can pull the knees closer toward the chest. In other words, as I lift like this is pretty challenging with my knee pulled all the way in. But if you don't feel the challenge and you want a little bit more, you would have your leg at tabletop. And remember, the first version I showed you is right here. So pick your option. We're back to the first leg to about 45 degrees. And you can try them both. You can start with tabletop, see how that feels, pull the knee in more, see how that feels. It's really important to be imprinted in the lower back though. It's definitely a little more challenging than when the foot was on the ground. So find your challenge, but listen to your body. We're going to go all the way vertical. kind of hard to coordinate and make sure this tabletop leg doesn't just float around and move. Two more, I think, if my super accurate counting is accurate. Okay, let's switch. I don't know why I just did what I did. All right, here we go. The other leg is straight. The arms are always where they are. One just lifts and one stays down. We've got the other leg in tabletop. Got my spine. And as much of an imprint as possible. 4 more here. So your arms are shorter than your legs, obviously. So it means it's just a lot easier to lift the arms. So a lot of times the arms can lift faster than the leg, but try to resist that and try to move your arm at the same slow, controlled pace as your leg. Let's go to vertical. I mean, I even notice my arm just kind of whipping and whizzing up there. And sometimes it even goes past vertical. I gotta just pay attention, concentrate, bring my arm and leg up together to vertical, and bring it down slowly in control. Just trying to really move in sync. I think 4 more will be good. Last one here. Okay, we're actually gonna come onto our sides. Ugh. So on our sides, we're gonna be in a prop up position here. So we're gonna intentionally work this shoulder. If it turns out that you keep finding yourself sinking into the shoulder, where it starts to bother your shoulder, you can come down to propped, all right? You can come down to this too. However, for the first exercise, since it's about the plank, you're gonna need to be on your elbow. And then for the subsequent ones, we're gonna be lifting the leg and you can choose to go down. So for the first one, you wanna stay lifted here. You can keep both knees bent, as I'm doing. You can also keep the top leg straight. And the focus here is on these obliques down here. And the reason I reach my top arm up is just remind me to stay really lifted out of the bottom shoulder. I mean, I don't have to do it. I could put my arm here. It's just my reminder. Exhale, lift, inhale. Give me 1 more here. All right, now if your shoulder is tired and you want to give it a break, you can go down, like I said, props or all the way to the ground. We are going to lift the leg. I would say everyone is going to lift no higher than the hip, so about parallel. When you're propped up like this and your foot, kneecap stay facing forward, parallel foot, it's really hard to lift past this hip height without wanting to externally rotate your leg. But if you're down on the ground, it's really easy to want to lift higher just because you have your body on the ground, right? This sort of lifted motion kind of restricts and inhibits your range of motion. In other words, you feel it a lot more when you're propped up like this. All right, so we're still keeping strength here in these obliques and strong through the shoulder. I'm going to have you kick the leg forward. And since we're propped up, the odds of us like not falling over is really high. So we're actually going to intentionally counterbalance the movement with a little bit of arm. Okay, just whatever is needed. So as I start to swing forward, I haven't moved my arm yet, but I can already feel that I'm going to fall. So I just kind of counterbalance the movement. It's just my arm though, and it's so that I don't use my whole body to counterbalance. All right, it's just my arm. I'm really trying to maintain this straight body, non-moving torso. Head and neck, spine through the pelvis is not moving. My leg is moving within the hip socket joint and my shoulder is moving within the shoulder. Kick forward, knee, no rotation. This is external rotation. So you're going forward and back, kneecaps and toes face forward. I know your shoulder down here is starting to feel it, so we're just gonna finish up here, last two. And hopefully your outer thigh and obliques have also gotten a good workout on that side. At any time you can, for the leg lift portion, you can come down here. But we're gonna start with the obliques again. So if you have both knees bent on the first side, go ahead and bend both knees again. Or if you have the top leg straight, have the top leg straight. Exhale, lift, inhale, lower. Stay lifted out of that shoulder. You should feel these obliques contract to lift those hips. Last one. Okay. So now's the time to transition if you need to. Lift the top leg, maintaining the neutral position. I often want to say neutral rotation, but that doesn't make any sense because there's no rotation. There's external rotation, internal rotation, and neutral. We are in neutral. Kneecaps and toes face directly forward. Stay lifted out of the shoulder, stay strong through the obliques. When we start the forward kicks, I want you to first just try kicking the leg forward. So let's lift it to the max height. And then we bring the leg forward, and before you immediately move your arm, try not to move your arm. You should really feel your abs kick in, right? Because your abs are like, oh my gosh, I really need to stabilize my body, I need to work. And then when your abs basically can't handle it anymore, what happens is it'll start to rely on movement of your body to kind of counterbalance this. And this is where your arms come in. Forward. And the goal here is to move the leg forward. Feel the hamstring stretch. Move the arms as needed and keep the rest of your body very still. Inhale to return, exhale, kick forward. Inhale, return. Maybe two more here. Okay. So we're actually going to go back to the first side. I'm switching back and forth just to give our shoulders a little break. Again, this is just intentionally propping ourselves up. Again, this is an option and this is an option. Let me show you what we're going to do. We're going to do clamshell. And if you've taken my class before, actually you all have, we've done clamshell like this, and it's like super relaxing, which is fine. So this just brings a little bit more work to the shoulder and the obliques. Okay, so once again, if you want to keep that arm lifted up to remind yourself to stay lifted out of the shoulder. Clamshell is basically the feet are together, the knees are bent, and only the knees open up. You can experiment with how bent your knees are. If they're too bent, you're not going to feel too much. I'd aim for about 90-degree bend in the knees. All right, so I would say the hip is like 90 plus 45, which is 135. I don't want to get that exact in like angles, but it's kind of like that. So now we're intentionally doing external rotation. And now we're going to do internal rotation. So the knees together and toes apart. And then put it all together. Tick, tock. Basically your shin bone just goes from one diagonal to the next. Knees together, feet together. Knees together, feet together. Last one. Before we switch sides, I do want all of us to lay down for a moment. This is okay if it doesn't bother your neck. Oh, sorry, I don't need to do that anymore. What I want you to do while you're down is that you can lift the bottom leg. So it's a little challenging to do this and lift the feet. All right, that's why I don't do it. I feel like I'm gonna lose my balance. So down here is just a little more stable. So you know how your feet are down and then you're like doing this stuff with your top leg? Well, we have another hip, it's up here. So we can, instead of aligning the feet to the bottom hip, we're aligning the feet to the top hip. All right, feet together, knees apart. Yeah, it's definitely, having this extra stability of being on the ground is helpful when your feet are up. So again, the feet are now aligned to the top hip as opposed to the bottom hip. Maybe I should have switched sides. This is kind of tiring to do it all on the same side, back to back. Okay, can we try this? This is gonna feel a little weird. I know, normally I would say do this, but this is just, I don't know, it doesn't really feel like anything. Don't worry too much about the range of motion because we are gonna do that whole flip thing. All right, here we go. So knees, toes, knees apart, toes together, and then flip, flip, flip. We're still flipping the top leg because we don't have the stability if we lift at the bottom. If that makes sense. And we are just trying to fatigue one leg. In this case, it was the top leg. All right, last two. We doing good? Still there? Leg hasn't fallen off yet? Okay. I'm gonna start propped up. We are targeting the inner outer thighs. Well, this is actually outer thigh. We're not targeting inner thighs. We're targeting the outer thighs for pelvic stability. It is part of our core musculature. They lifted out the shoulders, strong through the abdominals, and let's keep the knees together for the internal rotation. Okay, I don't know, for some reason I can do this one really fast. Now we're gonna do the entire full range of motion, knees together, toes apart, toes together, knees apart. Up, up. I don't know why I call this TikTok. It's nothing to do with the clock. All right, are we ready for the lifting of the feet? Coming down. Here's the original position, lift the feet, open the knees. I don't know what to do this hand. Do whatever you like. The feet are still in space. It's not resting on anything, but it's going to do its best to stay in the same position in space. Internal, this is going to be kind of limited range of motion. I'm having issues here on this side. The main reason is because you're already internally rotating. Like we're right, the feet are already up, and so that means the top knee is already down. So it's like you're starting already in internal rotation, and then you're trying to internal rotate more. But this will make sense. So feet together, knees apart, and then knees together, feet as apart as possible. Four, and 3, and 2, and 1. Okay. Coming back to the hands and knees. We're gonna do our full plank. So we just did some side planks. Wrists underneath the shoulders, reach one heel back and then the other. Planks are just a great exercise in general. Just holding is an amazing exercise. So if you want to do additional, you can do a lift of one leg, balance the pelvis so it doesn't rock, pull the knee forward, reach that heel back again, and lower. Inhale, lift. Exhale, pull the knee in. Inhale, reach back. There's no set height on when you lift the leg, but you don't want to move your pelvis. So if you lift your leg so high that your pelvis drops down, then don't lift your leg so high. Lift, pull, reach back, return. And you also have the option to pull the knee to the side. So lift, pull the knee out. So I'm going to the outside of my elbow, return back, and then lower. That's a little more challenging. I'm going away from the midline, not underneath my body. One more time on each. Soften those elbows. So lift, kneecaps face downwards, kneecaps face out to the side a little bit. And return. That was not easy. Okay, so I want to come to a neutral spine sitting. This is neutral spine, but you can be neutral at a tilt, and my abs are working. All right, there's enough. You can hinge back a certain amount, really bracing the abs before you go far back and you're like, oh, I just have to like break the neutral and roll down. So that's where I want you to find your breaking point, and don't go to flexion. So this is similar to when we're on our knees. If you go too far back, you might arch your back or drop the butt, but we're sitting on our butt. So we've lost this joint, right? We've lost this joint where it could arch or drop back. So here's neutral, and you can again hold on here, hinge, and then come forward again. So there is no flexion here. Exhale. You can also reach the arms. Hinge. Vertical. Hinge is different from creating flexion. Exhale. Inhale. This is also part of a roll down exercise, which we're not doing today. Now try, if you want, depends on your hamstring flexibility, to do with your legs straighter. Straighter or all the way straight. Okay. Exhale, hinge, hinge, hinge. All right, that's it. I can't go. Exhale, hinge. Inhale. Exhale. Pretty hard to keep good posture, right? This is why when we sit at our laptops all day, we aren't sitting like this. Okay, give me 2 more. All right. So go ahead and get onto your back. If you don't want to roll down, you don't have to. You can always come onto your side first and then roll onto your back. So what we're going to do is single leg stretch without lifting the head, neck, and shoulders. Option to have your feet, hands down here, or you can have them off the floor. So if we're down here, this is what it looks like. Remember, you can pick the angle at which you stretch your leg out. You can decide how far in you want to pull the knee. You stop it at tabletop. There's definitely a lot of work on my imprint, on my abs, when my leg is low to the ground and I stop at tabletop. My hands are down here, pressing into the floor for a little stability, but I can take those hands off the floor. Variation of flexion-free single leg stretch. And this can segue into double leg stretch. All right, here and reach. Inhale and exhale. Just watch how low both legs go, because the lower they are, they weigh quite a lot, right? Because compared to one leg, and there's no anchor of the leg towards the stomach, so you don't want to lose your imprint here. We're not going to do crisscross, but we're going to do scissors. So watch here. Again, hands can be on the ground. You start with a single leg lowering. So it's not a switch right away. Single leg lowering, one leg stays helping anchor the imprint. Option, hands. Option, drop the opposite hand with the opposite dropping leg. Similar to what we were doing earlier, but we always had a leg on the ground. So it's a little different. This can get very challenging very quickly, especially when we start to scissor, which is one go, oops, just did same side, same leg. When one goes down and one goes up. So let's put those hands back down on the ground and do scissor, which is a switch, 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 switch. All right, see how that feels? Float those arms up if you want to see how that feels. And then if you want to do master coordination here, let's see. I look like some jackknife wrench tool thing. All right, let's stop in 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, so that's a lot of work, and we haven't even done a single crunch yet. Isn't that amazing? Why don't you come back onto your hands and just a few more minutes here. I'm gonna once again reach that, so wrists underneath shoulders, knees under hips. Once again, I'm gonna reach the leg straight back and reach the opposite arm forward, but I'm going to sort of windmill it to the side. So my front leg is gonna go towards you, about 30 degrees out, and then my back arm is gonna go towards the wall to counterbalance the sort of the windmilling of the limbs away from the midline. Remember, your arms are shorter, so you might want to go out to 90 degrees. And then your leg is longer, and it's also restricted by the range of motion of your hips before your pelvis moves. So most likely, your leg can't move beyond 30 degrees anyways. Back to forward back and return. Other leg. First, straight back. Arm straight forward. Start to move your leg out to the side as well as your arm. So my left leg goes to the left, my right arm goes to the right. It's not decreasing in height. I'm staying at hip height and shoulder height. Definitely a balance challenge as well, since your limbs are away from midline. Back to front back and return. Let's just try that one more time. Breathe. Inhale, reach limbs. Exhale, take it out to the side. Inhale, hold. Exhale, still holding. Inhale, exhale, realign. Inhale, return. Actually, it doesn't matter how many breaths you hold. I just want you to keep breathing. So go ahead and lift the other limbs, reach it out to the side, and breathe. Inhale. Exhale. Eye gaze on the floor next to the thumb. Inhale. Exhale. Realign. And down. All right, good. Just kind of roll out the shoulders. And maybe your abs and spine are a little fatigued from all that flexion-free work. So maybe just take it through a little bit of range here. So basically this kind of trains your abs to not rely so much on your rectus abdominis. All right, doing this flexion doesn't mean it's a bad thing because I'm vertical. So I'm not using my rectus abdominis to do this. I'm not like contracting it. So range of motion is still good, but it's just about kind of retraining your muscles to work in a different way. So let me know your thoughts on that. Geez, I'm sweating like crazy. I should have turned the AC. And you know, we'll try different stuff together. And if you have requests for specific exercises, don't be afraid to let me know what they are. Thank you so much for joining.